Hi, I'm the List Girl and welcome to my videographic journal. For those of you that don't know me, I am autistic, and being that I'm autistic, I have quite a lot of difficulty sticking to habits. And quite frequently, I forget to take care of myself emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, etc. Because I may be either overstimulated, burnt out, anxious, or just too deep into my special interests that I just forget. So for the past few years, I've been trying to figure out a way to get my shit together despite my autism, and there is only one app that has been able to do that for me for like a good 4 or 5 years now, and that is Habitica. Habitica is a way to gamify your life through the creation of an RPG character, which you then have to keep alive by successfully keeping to your habits, your routines, and your tasks. Being a huge nerd, this is absolutely brilliant for me. I'll link in the description box below to other Habitica videos that I've made, such as my personal 2022 Habitica setup, my 2021 Habitica setup, and a couple of others. But for this video, I wanted to put together a bit of a tutorial for you of how to create a very simple, basic setup on Habitica. Once you've put in all of your deets, you will then show up on this page where Justin is saying, so how would you like to look? Don't worry, you can change this later. This is the character creation screen. You can choose between 2 different body types: tits, no tits, tits, no tits. I'm gonna go with tits. In terms of a shirt, I'm gonna go with yellow because it's my favorite color. You have all sorts of skin colors. I am gonna go with green because I want to be an alien. Then you have all sorts of hair colors, hair styles. I'm gonna go with bald. In extras, you can have a wheelchair. I'm gonna go without a wheelchair. And you can add accents or accessories to your character. I'm going to go with a green alien with a pink flower in my hair. Next. Then you choose what type of category your tasks and goals and things are going to be in. For example, work, exercise, health, school, chores, creativity, self-care. Let's just pick some random ones. And then finish. Blah, 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 blah. Thanks, Justin. Goodbye. Then you'll end up on the standard Habitica web page. It will come up with tasks for you. You can choose to keep them, you can choose to delete them. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to delete all of them so that we have a fresh base in which to start on. So as you can see, you have 3 lists. You have the habits list, the dailies list, and the to-do list. When I first started, I was quite confused as to what the difference was between habits and the dailies list. Dailies is basically all of your routine stuff, like your morning routine, your night routine, things you do on a daily basis, such as it says here, dailies repeat on a regular basis. Choose the schedule that works best for you. On habits, it says habits don't have a rigid schedule. You can check them off multiple times per day, whenever you would like. In other words, habits is where you keep the stuff you want to fix about yourself or to change about yourself, and dailies is where you keep your routines. To do, pretty standard. It's your task list, it's your to-do list, is where you keep your checklists and the things you want to do, the tasks you want to get done. And then rewards. In rewards, you have all sorts of equipment and gear that you can purchase over time, or you can come up with your own rewards, such as, for example, say you've had a good day and you want to treat myself to some vegan ice cream. Perfect. And you can then change how much that would cost you. That's a little excessive, but there we go. You then purchase these rewards as you collect gold throughout the game, which you attain from completing the tasks. When you complete a task, you are rewarded with gold, you are rewarded with experience points, which then helps you level up, and you are rewarded with finding gear, with finding equipment, with finding eggs that you can later hatch and have a whole host of different pets, but that is an explanation for another video. And in terms of consequences, if you forget to tick off or to complete something on your dailies list, you will always be penalized for it by losing HP points. As you can see, this character that I've created for the sake of this tutorial is at level 1. If it gets down to 0 HP, I do not know what happens because I've never got there. I don't want to find out what happens, but I'm assuming your character dies and you have to start from the beginning. I may be wrong about that, I don't know. But anyways, in terms of habits, some ideas that you can put in your habits list would be stuff like avoid sugars, because everybody knows sugars are bad for you. Apart from fruit sugars, they do not count, but let's not get into that argument. Take 1,000 steps, sorry, 10,000 steps. Eat 5 pieces of fruit and veg. Avoid fast foods on weekdays. Don't drink coffee past 4 p.m. because it will keep you up at night. One thing I like about the habits list is that they don't all need to have a plus or a minus. If you've completed a habit, if you've done a habit successfully, then you press up, and as you can see, you receive gold, experience, and an achievement, which is something else that I will also have to cover in a different video. If you press the minus button, you lose health, as you can see there. For some habits, say it's a certain habit that does not need a positive or a negative response to it, then you can just keep selected the option that you need. So for example, I'm just going to keep the positive button turned on, because, and this is what I've got set up on my Habitica, you don't really need to track how many, because it wouldn't make sense to track how many fruits and vegetables you haven't eaten. However, you can keep track of how many fruits and vegetables you have eaten today. So for example, for me, I had a smoothie in the morning, that's 1. I've found some items. I have had a bowl full of fruit. I had an apple, I had a kiwi, I had an orange, level 2. I've had a banana. I've also had pineapple. I had some mushrooms in my food. I had tomato in my food. I could keep going, but that's just an example. And in the bottom right corner, it keeps a tally of your streak, which is good because in this circumstance, you are able to tell how many pieces of fruit you've actually had in that day, which in this case is 8. Or for example, if you don't want to have a positive response to not drinking coffee, then you can just keep the negative button selected. So it gets to 5 or 6 p.m. and you're like, oh shit, I just had a coffee. You hit yourself with a negative response, consequence, whatever, and so forth. So they don't all have to be plus and minus, you can select as you wish. Next we have the dailies, which is your routines. So let's begin with a morning routine, an evening routine. Some other examples would be work on a project, if that's something you do on a daily basis. Walk the dog. Wake up at 7:30 a.m. Take out the trash, etc, etc. What I like to do is I like to rearrange these tasks into the order in which I take part in the routine. So like I wake up, I go through my morning routine, I walk the dog, then I work on my project, then I take out the trash, and then I have my evening routine, for example. Something that's really cool is that you can add checklists within your tasks. So if you're trying to build a certain routine, like a morning routine, you can then add a checklist of each of the points of the other tasks that you have to do within your morning routine. So for example, I'll wake up and I'll wash my face, and then I'll eat a healthy breakfast, and then I'll read 5 pages of a book, and then I will exercise, and then I will brush my teeth. You can then set the difficulty of the task. The harder you set the task to, the more rewards you will earn. However, the consequences will also be harsher. The more HP you will lose. Choose as you see fit. You can set how frequently this daily repeats. It's a morning routine, so I guess you'd have it every single day. Personally, I'm very strict with myself. So what I tend to do is I do not allow myself to tick off the main habit or the main task until I have completely checked off all of the other tasks within that task. And say it gets to the end of the day and I've forgotten to read, for example. I cannot tick this off. And I get very annoyed at myself if I do. However, that then motivates me for the next day to tick it off so that I can then complete that task. And you can do that for the rest of the other dailies as well. You can also set this so that these tasks only show up on specific days. Like, for example, you may probably not want to take the trash out every day because you don't need to. So, for example, let's say day in, day out, and then save. Due. That specific task will only come up on the day that it is due, so it's not something that you have to worry about, and it won't keep your list looking busy and disorganized. The thing about dailies that differs from the other two lists is that if you have left something on your dailies list that has not been ticked off or completed, you will have a consequence for that. At the end of the day, the app itself will reset, and whatever dailies are there, depending on the difficulty of them, that will then hit your HP. That is not something that happens to your to-do list. If your to-dos tasks are sitting there, it won't do anything at the end of the day. If your habits are sitting there, it won't do anything. It will just, the only way it affects your habits list is if you press the negative button. From your to-do list, there aren't any consequences for not completing anything in any particular time. However, if they sit there for a prolonged time, they will turn red, but that is nothing to worry about. Then it's your to-do list, which is very straightforward. It's where you keep your tasks. So let me just come up with a few tasks. So, say for example, this is your task list. There are a few things I want to explain and a few examples of how you organize your task list, because if you keep adding to this task list, it is going to get extremely long, and it is not only going to look messy, you're going to lose track of specific tasks, and you will become rather overwhelmed by the extent of things that are on the list that you have to do, and you're going to get overwhelmed by that. So we will be adding some extra tasks for an example, and then I will be showing you how to create headings for this task list. So as you can see, the list is now getting longer and overwhelming, unorganized, blah 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 blah. Where you make a header is you start with a hashtag, space, you add 2 stars, and then you type in the title of the header. So let's put events / meetings, and then 2 more stars, and then hit enter. Under the events and meetings, you're going to want to put anything that you have actual dates and times to, things like appointments, dates, events, that kind of thing. You can then in these tasks actually add the due date, so September 6th, 14th of November, oh that's October, 14th of October. If it's overdue, it will show up on the bottom left as red. If it's not overdue, then on the bottom left it will show you how long until it is due. So you have 2 months until your dentist appointment. I don't know why you'd book a dentist appointment that far ahead. But there we go. Next header that I would suggest is called a today's tasks list. Forgot to put the space. That will go under your events and your meetings. And the reason you're going to want to have the events and meetings above all the other things is because you cannot miss it. Say you didn't have any of the headings and these two items were just randomly in the rest of this list, you would lose it. You would forget about it, and you'd probably either be late or just completely forget. That's why it's right at the top. It's the first thing you see on this list. You cannot miss it. Under your today's tasks, you're going to put anything that you want to get done today. So let's say that today you are going to email your boss, you're going to help your sibling with their homework, and you are going to write that book review that you've always wanted to write. Next, you're going to create another header called tasks, and that is going to go under your today's tasks, and that is just going to be the rest of your task list. And that, I think, is a great way to keep your to-dos organized. As before with all the other, the dailies list, you can also add checklists within your tasks to help you get tasks done. I would personally suggest adding at least 3 subtasks to the tasks or the projects that you put on this list that you find most difficult. So you break it down into easier to achieve steps towards the completion of that main task. So for example, we're working on this photography project and you've got to go take pictures of the ocean, and then you've got to take pictures of animals in nature, and then you've got to process those pictures or edit those pictures, and then print pictures, blah blah blah, whatever. Add pictures to portfolio, and that will then show up as a mini list within your task, and then you've broken down your task into much easier steps. You can also add notes to your tasks, which is quite useful. So say for example your dentist appointment and you wanted to add a note that it's with Dr. Dre. It will then show up in text underneath your task, which is great for like little reminders. So say for example this task, email your boss about current project updates. I don't know. And then maybe you could also add the email fuckface@hotmail.iwanttoquit.com. It will give you a link if you add web pages, emails and such. So there we go. That is also quite useful. One thing I also like to do is add in the habits, in the notes section, why it's something that I want to achieve. So for example, avoid fast food on weekdays. It will help me to maintain or lose weight. It's better for my health and allows me to eat healthier throughout the week, so that if you're finding it hard to keep to a habit, you have a little reminder there as to why you're sticking to it in the first place, which I also find kind of helpful. Now that we have some habits, some dailies, and an organized to-do list, let me give you some little tips here and there. One thing I would suggest is adding emojis to all of your habits, all of your dailies, and all of your tasks. The reason I suggest doing this is because over time, your brain is going to associate that emoji to the specific task. So say for example, let's just add the emojis so I can explain it better. Okay, so I've added all my emojis. Not only does it now look aesthetically pleasing, which I think so anyways. As you work on your tasks and as time passes, your brain is going to start associating each task to the specific emoji. So instead of having to sit there and read through, oh, I need to wake up at 7:30, walk the dog, work on a project, looking at your list on your phone or on the website is going to be a lot easier to just look at the alarm and be like, okay, I need to wake up at 7:30, or look at the sun and be like, oh, I need to do my morning routine, or look at the dog and be like, oh, I need to walk the dog now. Instead of sitting and having to read through it, you'll just look at the emoji and already know what you have to do, which saves time later on and makes things look a lot nicer. Also, it's very useful to put emojis in your tasks as well, because even the task list at the bottom here is going to start to get very long. And when you're going to be searching for something, you're like, I swear there was something I had to do for the dog. What was it? You'll just scroll through and be like, oh, there's a task with the dog on it. Oh yes, I had to buy treats. Or say you're like, I swear I had a photography project. Then you go through and you're like, where's the camera? There it is. Oh, there's my photography project. It just makes it a lot easier to find things. One other thing I would suggest is adding an extra heading at the bottom of the list for your goals. So at the start of the year or at the end of the year, you're probably going to be setting up your goals or whatever. I just tend to do it as and when I want to. So say, for example, get fit. Basic goals I can think of: get fit, quit smoking this year. I'm also going to learn to drive. Simplest things I can think of. You can then also add emojis if you so wish. But I put that there as a point of reference. It's easy to find, you always know where it is, and if you're ever trying to come up with you're trying to organize what you're going to do for that day, and you have some extra time, and you can scroll down and you can be like, oh, I want to work on this goal. What can I do today that will help me work on these goals? Okay, so these are my goals. Okay, let me scroll back up and type the tasks that will help me further my progress in those goals. Speaking of the today's tasks section, it's also very useful to have this section here as well, because this section can get very, very packed. And I know I'm repeating myself, but it really can. But it prevents, I feel like it would prevent overwhelm by knowing that all you have to focus on from this list is just this section here. Don't worry about anything else. You just have to focus on this section here. And say, for example, it is the 6th of September. You just add that to today's task. And yet again, all I have to focus on is this little section here. So I don't have to worry about anything else that is on this list. Saying that you do have to keep on top of it. You have to stay organized, which may take a little more effort from your part. I think that is everything. I think I have explained everything. I hope you found this video useful. I know that I find Habitica extremely useful. There is a lot I have not explained about Habitica. I will be making more videos about it. I'm going to be discussing parties, quests, challenges, all the different classes and each of their powers that come with selecting different classes. I'm going to be discussing pets and just everything, but just slowly so that it's easy to keep up with. And today was just about setting up a simple Habitica task lists. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, hit that like button below and subscribe for more videos like this. But anyways, I am the List Girl, and just before I log off, I have just one question for you. What is your next adventure?